Alright guys, thanks for tuning in bD-TopaZ. We'll be your epic and awesome and host Fitz here. And this replay comes to us from bD-TopaZ Clan League Week 3 between Black Dragons and let's see here, Overdose. So yeah, this is gonna be series number 5, and it's gonna be on match point. And we have Amir again, which was Al-Kajab from last game. I just couldn't remember, but I actually have Amir written on my computer screen so I can actually figure out what he is.
My name is not Al-Kajab, it's Amir.
It's Amir. I got you, man. So
do you now?
Yes, I actually do have you as your name, because you see it's A-H, whatever
wrong.
dash is M-E-E-R-E.
That's wrong, but it's closer than like Al-Kajab, so let's move on.
Yeah, let's, but anyways, TVP, now, I've seen Wallace in one from one tournament a while back, maybe a week or two ago. From the time I'm seeing this, I got this, we're casting this a little bit later than I'd like to, but he was playing, I want to say, ASL, I think he was playing the ASL, the, amateur, the C rank, but, apparently, if what I understood from this chat, Wallace is maxed around C+, so pretty high level or intermediate range for both these players, something like Super Gosu, but, yeah.
I mean, quite frankly, I'm unfamiliar with both of these players and their playing style, so I cannot really make an informed decision until I see them in action, so, yes.
Yeah, that's one of the downsides to one of casting bD-TopaZ Clan League is, you know, these players are kind of just playing their own right. They're not really, some of them are in the ASL, some in the ISL, which are these, they're like star leagues is what they're actually called, Amir, and they're like outside tournaments away from bD-TopaZ, but they're pretty interesting nevertheless, and they're normally higher level of play. You get to a lot of familiar faces, especially in ISL, where you see a lot of like Suzuki and other really top of the line form Brood War players. But here we don't really know any of these players' playstyles, so we're just kind of have to go by the book and see what they're going for. And it looks like bD-TopaZ is going for a blind expand, more or less 1 gate expand, which on this map isn't bad. The map is match point, one of my favorite maps. Now, this isn't super risky to go, just because even though your main's actually on the same ground, this is, in a way, you kind of have to go this expand, just because any early game aggression and you get contained is going to be so much more favored to the person who's doing the aggression, because they're not attacking up the ramp now. So if you have units right by this front door over here, what can you do about it? So you try to have to push them back by taking your own expand. Maybe we'll probably be seeing a, well, we did see, I was gonna say we're probably gonna see a forge, but we did see a 1 gate expand, which is, I think, a little bit more risky. But I don't know what your opinion, Amir, is.
I mean, I really have no opinion on the forge, but I think it's remarkable how much of a hike it is to get to the enemy's base, because they have to snake around the whole map. So really, the expands are very necessary, because, you know, it sort of funnels them almost, you know? Yeah,
and while you're talking about, I mean, we saw a gas steal, so I mean, it looks like he's, what we're seeing, Wallace, or is it Wallace is the Protoss? I'm sorry? No, Wallace is Wallace is the Protoss. So bD-TopaZ is going to be the Terran here, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know what this funky push is looking like right here, but oh my goodness, we just gotta pause the game for. All right, so yeah. Anyway, this Marine has gotten 1 probe kill so far, so things aren't looking too good right now. Looks like he's actually over a bunker rush. He has 3 SCVs here now. Will they be able to drill through that Zealot? I'm not quite sure. The micro on that Marine is gonna have to be pretty top of the line here, and it looks like the Marine will lose his life. I think it will. Oh no! Actually, nice. Using the SCVs, the best visibility as he can right here. And bD-TopaZ actually has pretty good micro so far. Will it be enough? Will the Marines be able to get off a lot of probe kills to really punish this fast expand? And at the same time, Wallace is going to be, bD-TopaZ is going to be taking his own expand right here. And these Marines have quite a few probe kills right here as it stands right here, trying to chase him down as much as he possibly can here. But will he be able to finally stop it? He's finally killed off one of the Marines, killed off a second one a little while earlier to this, and probes are actually starting to do a lot of damage to this Northern Marine here. Does get sniped up by the Zealot. The Zealot barely almost survived there, but he did indeed survive. He did, at the same time though, bD-TopaZ did get up that bunker here, but it's really going to be kind of worthless if the Marine can't get in. But I don't know, will the pros be able to stop it? I think it will, as long as proper pro micro will be able to get through. I believe it should, and there's really nothing.
I mean, quite frankly, even if you can't get the Marine in the bunker, which we cannot, it was still a very effective strategy, because the Protoss need a lot of resources in order to fund a major attack. And if they have those resources, they can be quite a force to be reckoned with. However, since he stunted their growth so much, I think the likelihood of them launching an assault against him are very, very unlikely, at least at this point in the game.
Yeah, I mean, delaying, I mean, a way why, I think, why TopaZ went for that is that there was a gas steal, and a lot of the time what will happen with the gas steal, a lot of the time Protoss will often 2-gate in response to that, but instead, I'm not quite sure if TopaZ knew about the expand coming up from a scouting SCV or what have you, but most of the time a fallout from Protoss from a gas steal is a 2-gate, which means it's just like Zealots constantly coming out, which just counters some Marines and SCVs pretty efficiently if you have like 5 or 6 Zealots coming out.
Especially with so little high ground, you know.
Yeah, and well, not.
I mean, so little low ground. I mean, if the thing
level doesn't really matter.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, if the Marines are on the high ground,
yeah,
and they can funnel the Zealots, then it becomes a meat grinder. But if they're on the same playing field, the Zealots will wipe out the Marines, no problem.
Yeah, that's a really good point right here. He's trying to do a Zealot run by here. He, meaning Wallace, is going to be trying to make a run by here, but it looks like at least he'll get some scouting information off. He'll just be seeing standard 2 factories coming down, just a little bit more delayed tech just because of the gas sale coming up. And it looks like he might be able to stop this factory from going down for a little short period of time right here. But only 2 Marines to deal with this one Zealot, but at the same time,
he's going to have to micro or actually commit, because quite frankly, he's not being attacked by anyone else, so he might as well throw some more Marines at the Zealots. Because the Zealot's doing a fair amount of damage when you think about it. He destroyed 1 SCV and delayed the factory for at least a couple seconds, which in this game can be a huge difference.
Yes, it can be, and for sure, actually. And I would like at the same time, though, Terran's actually ahead in 1 base right now, which is never a scenario you want to be in TVP. So I don't know. I'm not gonna say Wallace is out of this game right now, but it just really hasn't been such a good build order. I think coming out of it.
He just does not have the ability to finance a large enough army, because quite frankly, if they lose units at an equal rate by assumption, the Terran will be much easier to regain all their resources quicker and then build another army for a second attack. Whereas the Zealots, with less ability to get resources, they will have to rely more on microing, which can be very risky.
Yeah, and the micro only helps so much to a big army supply. I mean, right now the supply counts are equal just because.
It seems like he's sending out some dragoons.
Yeah, it's probably for just more scouting purposes, just going to be poking at the front door.
More of a guerrilla tactic. Maybe he could sneak in them by and do some damage to economic buildings, perhaps.
Well, it's going to be hard because the front door is completely. I mean, there is a bunker there, and Dragoons,
he's
even
sending
with
something else. Is there more Dragoons?
Yeah, more Dragoons. Like, he's going to be continuing to rally those units over there. And what the problem is, this is what you're kind of seeing with the 1 barracks FC, which is the fast expand. What will happen is Dragoons will attack the front door of the bunker. SCVs will be coming in to repair. This is exactly what we're seeing. But the tank will just have so much range it can just start shelling at the Dragoons, and the DPS of the 1 bunker does so much. And that's what happens a lot of time with 1 barracks.
And that's when Zealots will be much less effective, because if he gets like 3 or 4 siege tanks and they send in a Zealot attack, they're going to sustain many casualties before they can even penetrate their defenses. Yeah,
this is where Terran is safe. That's why a lot of times players will 2 base or 3 base as Terran, because it's really easy to sit back and just have, a group of tanks over here, a couple tanks in the main base in case of a drop.
I mean, especially
on the third as well.
Especially on this map where the expands are right in line with the main base, so in order to get to the main base you must go through the expands. So it does provide some sort of protection against your main base. So then
yeah. That makes perfect sense, and there's really no reason. The Protoss Wallace should be thinking this is actually not the terrible position where he should be in. I mean, he wants to keep his units outside Terran space just to make well, first off, to counter any kind of vulture run bys that would happen, and he even has Dragoons to figure out when that happens. But I also don't know what push is coming. But it looks like Terran's just going to be turtling up for the time being right here. He's just going to slowly push back the Protoss.
I mean, the best chance that he has is eventually the Terran's going to make a push. So my advice to him would be to build up his building defense and his defensive forces as much as possible, and then attempt to sneak around some troops. So as soon as they send out their Marines or their siege tanks, what have you, he sneaks in and then gets by the first base, and then does some damage. Put him on the defensive as soon as he moves his troops up. You see what I mean?
Yeah, and especially with mech being so much slower, and that's probably, it's actually a pretty, not a terrible move to do, but he's going to be going for in between 4 tanks here.
Move, but it seems to be working.
Yeah, he's been able to snipe off 3 of the 4 tanks, and the 4th one did just go down in here, but will he be able to repair that bunker? That's kind of the main key right there.
Tanks will be a problem.
Yeah, the siege tanks are actually going to be a problem, though, but as long as the bunker is okay, Protoss can't really push up that ramp right here. And also, at the same time, though, Wallace has completely neglected taking a base behind this, because at the same time, he's been in total war mode, and he's continued to produce more. He has enough for an expand here.
He's just throwing money at the problem. He's not dealing with it properly, because quite frankly, he cannot penetrate far enough to do any serious damage. Not with the troops he has now.
No, and that's where he needs to get what's the Arbiter tech. It looks like he's going to be taking his third in the top left right here.
It's like the First World War. They just send out troops to run at the enemy lines, and they just get mowed down with a few getting by. But it's just pathetic.
Yeah, but the benefit though, I mean, the one thing that we have going for him right now is Wallace is just sending, I mean, a good enough. I mean, probably around 600 minerals worth of zealots right here. He was able to kill off the bunker, and he was able to kill off 3 of the tanks right there. And in TVP, the tanks are kind of like one of the main units you need against Protoss, because they do so much damage, and they take really, really long to build.
One advice I would give to him is probably to use his stealth ability, because Protoss have a couple of units that are good for stealth, and since he destroyed that missile tower, they will not have much observation of invisible things, so he could perhaps sneak behind and attack the mineral lines, perhaps.
Yeah, and the problem is, I think Wallace doesn't realize with his map control that he has, somehow, I mean, TopaZ has gotten away with his third base at the 12 o'clock.
Wait, what is this?
It's going to be vultures running by and probably putting down spider mines for map control. But the problem is that he just has no idea that this 12 o'clock exists right here, and it would be so easily to snipe off. You could put your goons like behind here and start sniping at the mineral line. I think their range is even that great. But there's nothing to defend there.
And also, if he were to do that, if he were to ambush the mineral line with the 12 o'clock, then when they send their troops out to go there, he could launch a second pronged attack. See, usually in maps like this, you can't do that because there's only one way in, one way out. But however, if you can get that height advantage and actually manage to attack the mineral line, that's the risky part of the 12 o'clock, is that it is vulnerable.
Yeah.
And then you could launch a second pronged attack and do some major damage to the first attack.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, it is like this 100% correct. He's
like he's bulldozing here.
Yeah, he's not really being careful with the spider mines. He's selling themselves in to absorb some damage, but he needs those for the tanks, though. But will the Dragoons be able to get in range of the tanks right here? And, you know, at the same time, TopaZ hasn't really been careful. Yeah, TopaZ hasn't really been careful with his tanks, though. His tank placement really hasn't been that great.
You're supposed to put them behind Marines or Vultures. He's just sort of throwing them on the front lines as it's okay to do it if you tech up their armor to a maximum amount so they can draw damage. Quite frankly, it's an awful idea. And now the Zealots come in and they can just clean up.
Yeah, they're actually, I mean, I'm surprised just the lack of Vulture numbers in this army right now. He should be able to clean this up fine with the Vultures as long as he micros them right. But he's just losing tank after tank here, and this is just not looking great for him.
I mean, what he's playing the resource game, where it's just he's throwing money at the problem. He's not taking the troops he has and using them like a general. You know, he's not organizing them, attacking the weak spots, or using them to their advantage. He's just sort of throwing them out there and hoping for the best, which, you know, is working. But this is one advantage. If he actually, you know, used them properly, he could do some major damage.
Yeah. He meaning Wallace, you mean?
Yes, Wallace.
Yeah, so he's a Protoss.
The Terran, yeah.
Terran is TopaZ. TopaZ is a Terran. But, I don't know. I mean, Terran has just been, I mean, I don't see how he can lose. I mean, we're just seeing Wallace get Arbiter Tech, which isn't, like, super delayed. It's like 13 minutes. So
what I'm surprised is he hasn't walled in yet. He hasn't walled in, and this seems like the kind of map you'd want to wall in, because quite frankly...
Well, Protoss doesn't want to wall in.
Not Protoss, Terran.
Yeah, I mean, he could put supply depots just to stop any kind of run-bys, but, you know...
But with all those siege tanks, if we just set them down, if he sent an attack, you could just blast them through oblivion. Especially with all the zealots he's been cranking.
It's the maneuverability of the Vultures is the problem, because if you wall off, the Vultures can't get around and soak up damage. The Vultures are like these zealots for the Protoss. Zealots do a good amount of damage versus tanks, but in general, their main purpose is just to soak up damage in main armies, so allow like the Dragoons to get in range of whatever the heck they need to get in range of. But now he's countering the third here, and you know, Protoss, I mean, this is just delaying that for so long, putting spider mines down, and
He's not countering the problem because you know he has an observer. What's he going to do? I mean, it's just he's wasting his money essentially.
He needs what we need to see out of Wallace right here. He needs to make some kind of move. He needs a counter push. He needs a counter push on a base here. But I mean, at what cost is this 12 o'clock? I mean, this is the deciding factor in this game here. This has been left. There's about 500, 600 minerals from each patch just completely gone. And I mean, finally, Protoss is taking what is the quote unquote normal third. But he has finally Arbiter checkup. But I mean, we're seeing 107 supply to 176. That's like a 70 supply deficit here. Look how many
he's just cranking. He could just crank out factory, you know,
factory tech units all the time. Yeah, and he's even getting EMP now in response to the Arbiter. And the problem is he's not gonna have multiple. Like he might have 1 or 2 Arbiters. I mean, by the time that he has like 3 or 4 science vessels, he's gonna have enough to EMP. It's 4 attempts to EMP 2 Arbiters.
I mean, the biggest problem here.
Ah, okay. Alright, so, yeah. Amir had to check at his phone real quick. But, anyway, the main deciding factor in this game is pretty much the 12 o'clock, and it's been left uncontested for.
But the problem I have with the Terran, with TopaZ, is that he's not using his troops wisely, which, you know, is working for him now. But what happens when he uses up his resources? This becomes a late-game battle. Then he's going to be absolutely in trouble. However, in this situation he's in right now, if he launched an attack, he could probably wipe them out.
Yeah, and what oftentimes is what you see in TVP, what is exactly what we're not seeing in this TVP. Terran will sit off a 3 base once their 200 army is gone, and he's losing all his vultures right here, which is stupid. Which I don't get why he's doing it, but well, at least he's getting a lot of these tanks getting in position here.
I think it's more of a decoy, quite frankly.
Yeah, but I mean, sure, he lost a lot of the vultures, but, you know, I didn't even see... I mean, that's exactly his counter...
Because now, his siege tanks have the time to siege up, and then once the dragoons get in place, they will be walking into a rain of fire, essentially.
Yeah, and... Ooh, actually... this is... Oh, nice stasis field.
Just as I suggested.
Yeah, nice stasis field going down right there, and that should be able to clean this army up. But, like I was trying to say, though, in TVP, a lot of the time what happens is... Terran, once they lose their 200 army... They struggle to get that army back, and since, you know, Terran's off of 4 base, Protoss is only off of 3, if you can even call it that. I mean, he still doesn't even have his 3rd gas up, his natural's getting fairly low on minerals, and he's really yet to really take another expansion here. And the main problem, what we're seeing here, is that Terran's going to be able to remax, you know, fairly efficiently here. I mean, he does have all these tanks right here, which is keeping the supply count up a little bit higher.
He needs observers, which he needs, because this is ridiculous. I mean,
he
starts off with incredible resources and incredible army. It's a classic misguided tactic. It's just, you think because you have the most resources or the most troops, you are invincible, but you need to think like a tactician. He just lost an entire battalion of siege tanks.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna... Definitely the engagement for Terran was not optimal. What he could have done is he could have spread out his tanks much more. But even with that, though, he's not even out of this game.
And I have yet to see a single Marine in this.
Yeah, in TVP, you don't actually go bio, because there's Storm. There's Storm and Zealous. Pretty much, work any kind of bio. And that's questionable to even worthwhile even getting off that stasis right there. Just because it's 150 for the energy use there, and only if they have 200 energy right there, it's kind of troublesome to actually go that. And Terran's off of 5 base now. I mean, his 4th is getting countered. I mean, he's got at least got 300-400 minerals per patch off there. So definitely this is a nice little win coming out of Wallace here. But I mean, I guess I don't really know what the Terran's been doing. He should be in such a good scenario where he should be okay. I mean, he's been off of 5 base.
It's quite a battle. I mean, the thing is, it starts off with.
Oh, that's beautiful. He actually took off the 3rd. Sorry.
What I was saying was, it starts off with the Terran, the quick expands, and it's somewhat of a risky move because when you expand that quickly, it's hard to defend them. But there was no attack, so he had the resource advantage. And now look what's happening. He's lost so much of his army in the first place due to poor tactician that Wallace is actually doing substantial damage to his base.
Yeah, but I mean, but this is the important thing, though. We've seen aggressive expands coming out of Wallace, and he's never gotten punished for them. This base is up for quite some time right here. And if you're also looking at the supply count, it's 75 to, let's see here, 75 to 145. There's a completely different army. Wallace is yet to actually build any more units. He's off 2 base, and at the same time, we might not be focusing on it so much. And EMP goes down, which means the Arbiter won't be able to stasis field that group of tanks right there. And there's a big problem with this, because now we're seeing that Wallace can't actually do anything about it. He can't counter expand. We're looking at 59 supply, and I don't really see how he can go back. He needs to take an expand here, but there's 4 tanks at his front door. And he has like no probes, 3 probes up there, and there's a GG. And there we go.
Yes, that's the game.
Yeah, that's game 1. So actually, Wallace will win that. So it's a nice little victory for.
I think it's remarkable.
Black Dragon.
It just goes to show you don't. Being an economist is a very valuable trait, but being a general in this game is far more important. Because look what happened. He had less. He started off with less. I mean, look at it. He had less structures, less resources, less units, and yet he was victorious.
No, actually, no, because.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, TopaZ actually had far more units there. I mean, his engagements could have been better. His engagements could have been much better, especially for that first one. That could have potentially ended the game, but there was a very, very nice stasis field that we saw coming out of Wallace here, and that really kind of changed up that army. That was about 8 tanks with that stasis field. That would have looked very different if you spread them out a bit better. But then again, he was going to a straight air into a choke point where Protoss is going to be a lot better and a lot stronger in that area. Mech is very, very good for containing a small area, but it's on the outside in the open. So that's the reason why.
Yes, well, it's upsetting, because when you look at it, Wallace was by far the superior general. I mean, he used his units to the best of his ability, and he did so much damage with the stealth and the storm and all of his abilities, and it's unfortunate that he just did not have the resources to back it up. It's really sad. But
yeah. He needed to take more. He needed to take expands. There was an opportunity where Wallace. We could have seen what might have happened is if Wallace took that 3rd base and TopaZ may have knew about it, could have been like, okay, I'm going to go take 5 expands now, and I'm going to go out macro and going to contain, by the time he gets those 5 bases up, he's getting his macro up enough that he can get off enough gateways where he can start counting a 4th base. And that would have been on the flip side. That would be more of a traditional TVP.
What would have been the real game changer that could have absolutely just destroyed TopaZ is if he had taken that 12 o'clock. Because quite frankly, if he destroyed that 12 o'clock, his resource input or intake would be equal to that of Wallace. And if Wallace, with his superior, micro ability, could just wipe.
I think you're flipping the players now.
Am I flipping the players? Wallace was the Protoss.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, Wallace has superior micro ability. Yeah. He was better with the few troops he had because he did not have the resources. TopaZ had the 12 o'clock. Yes.
Yes.
And if Wallace had destroyed that, he would have leveled the playing field when it came to resources. So he couldn't just throw money.
Yeah, and that's the main issue that we saw. I mean, just that base was just not scouted, and that's the problem is that Terran was over a base over the Protoss, and that's never a scenario where Protoss wants to be. And that pretty much concludes this game. We'll go on to our next TVP, and we'll see if Wallace will be able to take another. I mean, if TopaZ can go take another hidden expansion, just continue, win that game. All right, yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Fitz and Amir is out of here. Peace, guys.